Hello and welcome to the Get Creative Podcast, the podcast for creatives by creatives. I'm Evan Schmidt and my guest today is Becky Mancuso. She's a marketer and the current president of the Pittsburgh Advertising Federation. All right, let's go to the interview. All right, so Becky, thanks for coming on the show today. What's something important that you've learned?
So obviously I've been thinking about this a little bit, and I think it's really, really hard to narrow it down to one important thing I've learned. But if I had to pick one to talk about right now, it would be I've learned that the grass is not always greener. And I know that that's sort of cliche and kind of a negative one at that. So I think the inverse of that, or the way that I would think about it, is it's okay to be content in your situation. So I think that in the course of my career and in my life, this industry that we work in, marketing, advertising, and specifically my agency background, almost conditions you to always be wanting more, something new, something bigger, something better, something different, something sexier, and it sets you up for a pace or a desire that's not always attainable. And so for me, it's taken a lot of time, and I'm still learning it. But I'm really learning that it's okay to find contentment and to be comfortable in your current situation. I think that part and parcel of that is understanding what it is that fulfills you and really being true to yourself, and also always acting with integrity. So I think that, you may be craving more, you may be wanting more, whatever the case may be. But I think if you can identify what it is that fulfills you, personally or professionally, and you can kind of use that as your true north, if you will, and you always kind of refer back to that at any given point in a decision-making process, and you always act with integrity, you can always be confident in your decision and in what you're doing. So I think that, and I don't think that fulfillment is obviously not going to be the same for anybody. And I also think that it changes throughout the course of your life. I think what fulfilled me 10 years ago, or what I was pursuing 10 years ago, wouldn't be what I'm fulfilled by or pursuing now. That changing of that fulfillment, I think, is also part of what leads to this kind of grass is always greener syndrome. But I think a constant sort of reflection on yourself and what it is you're wanting and desiring and craving, and acting, as I said, with integrity and really being true to yourself, you can always sort of move ahead positively. And maybe you won't make the right decision, or maybe you won't land exactly where you thought you were going to, or maybe a situation isn't going to pan out the way you had hoped. But if you were following that true north, and if you were cognizant of what was fulfilling you, and if you were seeking that contentment or that comfort, and you were acting with integrity, I think that those are all sort of great guiding principles.
Cool. Well, was there like a point in time that you realized this, or did it happen over a course of a few years, or was it an aha moment?
Well, I've always had a little bit of this grass is always greener syndrome my entire life. I mean, I've, kind of always been seeking, a new job opportunity, or even in my personal life, my husband and I have renovated, I think, 5 or 6 homes now, kind of always looking for something different. And so that side of this has taken me a long time, and I don't purport to have shrugged it off by any stretch of the imagination. But that side of it has taken me a long time to realize that I was always seeking something else and kind of trying to figure out why. Why was I always looking for more? And professionally, at least, I kind of think it's the agency background. I do think that especially working in an agency, you're kind of conditioned to be, working simultaneously on a bunch of different businesses, meeting the needs of a lot of different clients. And so you almost have this just natural ADD, if you will. And that, just from that background and that professional experience, I think almost exacerbated whatever it was in me naturally that was always kind of craving more and more and more. The other side of it, the fulfillment and the being true to myself, that's something that I've really tried to focus on, probably more recently. I have a little girl. She's 2, and I think I'm in my mid-30s, and I think I've just finally started to say, like, I really need to just kind of focus on me and my family and figuring out what's the best thing for us, and maybe slowing my roll a little bit on the grass is always greener stuff, and trying to be a little more true to me, and really finding that true north and what that fulfillment is.
Well, very well put. Yeah. So what are you working on right now?
So I'm working on a lot of really cool stuff. I'm lucky enough to be the president of the Pittsburgh Ad Federation, which is an amazing organization in Pittsburgh that is, inclusive of all marketers and advertisers and creatives, really anybody that has a passion for that space and for their fellow colleagues and for that community. So that's a role that I started about 6 months ago, and comes with loads of fun stuff, board meetings and happy hours and networking and all kinds of really cool stuff. And I'm getting to meet people that, that I've heard about in the past, and our paths are finally crossing. And it's just been a really awesome thing for me, and I'm enjoying every minute of it. Professionally, in my everyday kind of 9 to 5, I'm actually starting a new role in a couple of weeks that I'm really, really excited about, leading a marketing organization. So more to come on that. And then, as I mentioned, I have a little girl who always keeps me on my toes. So constantly working on something with her. And then the house that my husband and I have that it's probably more him than me at this point, but another project. So no shortage of things, fun things to work on.
Yeah. And if people want to contact you, if they do,
yeah,
where can they get you?
So if people wanted to contact me, which would be awesome, I wish I had a spiffy website to send people to, but I don't. So it has to be LinkedIn. So just find me on LinkedIn. It's Becky Mancuso, or anybody is welcome to email me at mancuso.becky@gmail.com. So kind of the basic stuff.
Cool. Well, Becky Mancuso, thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
That's it for another episode of Get Creative. You can find more information about my guest in the show notes. Subscribe to this podcast on iTunes and Stitcher so that new episodes magically appear, and tell a friend about this show. For more information about me, just go to evanschmidt.com. Thank you for listening. Now go get creative.